Good morning, students. Let's continue with the validation activities. So in the last lecture, we have discussed about the unit testing, integration testing, function testing. Now the another category is your system testing. So what do you think is the difference between function testing and system testing? Like in the function testing, we said we are supposed to check all the functionality of the system, whether they are working or behaving as per the expectation or the behavior specified in the SRS document. So what will be the system testing? Is it to check the complete system? That is already tested in the function testing. Then what are we supposed to check here? So system testing is a process of attempting to demonstrate that a program or system does not meet its original requirement and objectives as stated in the requirement specification. So apart from the functional requirements, we are supposed to check whether our system is going to behave properly with respect to certain parameters like performance, security, maximum load, a user interface, and there will be several parameters that will be checking here along with the functionalities which were already tested in your functional testing. So this is it. System testing is not a process of testing the functions of a complete system of program. That is already being done in functional testing, right? So we'll be checking these parameters here. After passing through these tests, the resulting system is a system which is ready for acceptance testing, which involves the user as represented in the next figure. So what does it mean? Right. This is a part of system testing. So once the system is unit tested and integrated testing, like integration testing is being done, and we have applied all these system tests of different parameters, once this is done, our system is ready for the last step, that is acceptance testing. So what are these system testings? So broadly it is clear from the figure, we have to perform security testing, we have to perform stress testing, performance testing, compatibility testing, and recovery testing. Further, we have usability testing and we do have load testing also. So we'll see in the next lectures what does it mean actually. So the categories of system test are these, whatever is being already discussed in the last figure: recovery, security, performance, load, stress, usability, and compatibility testing. So starting with recovery testing. What do you mean by recovery testing? As the name suggests, if how capable your system is to recover from any adverse situation, right? This is what recovery testing is. You need to check this. So recovery testing is the activity of testing how well the software is able to recover from crashes, hardware failure, or any other similar problems, right? So this could be multiple problems which could be associated with your system, hardware, or the software, and how well your system is able to recover from those conditions is what we'll be discussing in recovery testing. So what is the main purpose? It is to determine how good the developed software is when it faces a disaster. Now, what is a disaster? Disaster can be anything from unplugging the system, which is running the software from power or the network, also stopping the database or crashing the developed software itself. So there could be multiple inputs or the events which can be given by the user, or it might happen on its own, right? So what is an example? Examples of like recovery testing includes while an application is running and you restart your system. So is it able to continue once you restart your system from the point where it has been stopped, right? We need to check that. Or you unplug the cable and plug in after a while. So what will be the impact of that? We need to check whether it continues with the last session or you need to initiate or create a new session for that. And the third case, when a number of sessions has been started and you reboot your system, that is restart your system, right? So like in Mozilla, you see whenever your system closes, right, and we opens it, it starts for restoring the session, right? So it has a capability to restore it. Likewise, we need to check for other browsers also, right? So this is relevant to a browser. So these are the three major categories. Now what is required? right? How system recovers after a recovery testing. What should be present in your system which helps in recovery? There are three basic things which are present. One is an automated recovery mechanism. It automatically recovers. It does not require any human intervention. Or multiple CPUs or multiple instances of devices and mechanisms to detect the failure of the device. It means that you have multiple systems and you have or CPUs or whatever it is. One is not working properly, so the task can be taken up by the second CPU and it carry forwards the work. So it is not going to impact or hinder your work. It doesn't act as an obstacle. If one is not working properly, the second could work. If second is not working properly, maybe the third could take up his task and complete it. So that means it recovers. It does not crash or fails. And the third one, that is a checkpointing mechanism. That means we uh, add checkpoints after certain interval, and if system crashes, say for reason today, so I can recover the system to the last checkpoint. Prior to that everything was working properly. After that checkpoint the error has occurred or the system failed, so I can recover it. Normally this is what we do in our systems also. There is a checkpointing mechanism. We go for recovery. Whenever we go for recovery, it recovers from the last checkpoint. Right? A good way to perform recovery testing is under maximum load, right? You need to check the system's performance. And how you can check it? We can only check the performance when it is being given the extra load, right? And how system is going to behave in that environment, that needs to be checked here. For example, say let's take an example of IRCTC website. It is meant for several users who can work simultaneously. Now we like to perform you can say system testing for that site. So in the system testing, what we will do, we will actually give the maximum load, like number of users. Say it was meant for 10,000 users, so we'll ask 10,000 users simultaneously log in and check how the system is going to work in that condition when maximum load condition is there, right? So this would help us. Maximum load will give rise to transaction inaccuracies and the system would crash, resulting in defects and design flaws. So if it is not able to accommodate that many set of users, ultimately it is going to show the problems or the defects. This is what is our aim of recovery testing. So what is the focus area during the recovery testing? The first one is whenever there is certain problem, restart your system, right? This is the main thing. And the second one is a switch over, that is switch over to another component. If one component fails, you can take over, this can be taken over by the standby, you can say the component or the alternative component available. So two mechanisms, one is your restarting the system and the second one is a switch over. So we need to check in recovery testing whether these two functions are working properly or not. Right. Now the another type. So we have done the recovery testing. The second system testing type is the security testing. So very simple, as the name suggests, we need to check our system whether it is secured or not, right? So security in respect to what, right? So security is a protection system that is needed to assure the customer that their data will be protected, right? Security means you have to convince your customer that if they are going to use your system, data will be protected. It is not going to be revealed to anyone. If the security is not provided by the system loses its accountability. No one is going to use your system if it is not secure. Like for example, nowadays we are using Zoom for our online teaching or meetings or the conferences, but you know it is clear that it's not a safe site to be used for. There are certain security breaches that are taking up and even the governments are enforcing not to use it. That means system lose its accountability, right? Now what does security includes? Security includes controlled access to your data, encrypted data in communication, ensuring secrecy of the stored data, and auditing security events. So the four major security concerns are these. There must be control access. Everyone is not allowed to use all data. Data must be in the encrypted form. Your stored data must be secured. and auditing security events, whatever is taking place. So we have to take care of this, right? Now, what will be the impact of these security breaches if it takes place, right? It can cause loss of information, corruption of information, misinformation, privacy violation, and denial of service. So breaches could be five: either the information is lost, or it is got changed, that is corrupted, or some other information is communicated by some other, like you can say, intruder. Privacy violations could be there, right? And denial of service. The actual user is not able to use his functions which is supposed to, right? Denial of service. So these are the effects of security breaches. So let's see what could be done. Security testing is the process of attempting to devise test cases to evaluate the adequacy of protective procedures and countermeasures. So what are we supposed to do in security testing? We have to design the test cases who are going to check whether all the security measures are taking place or not, is present in your system or not. So what are the types of security requirement? Types of security requirement can be of two types. The first one, which is associated with each functional requirement. That means it is relevant to each and every functionality. Say for login, right? We require credentials, user ID and a password. If the login is, you don't have your login credentials, you're not able to log in into your system. So that is, you made your login functional secure. And the second category is when the security issues are global. That means not relevant to one or two functionalities. It is relevant to all functions or the overall system. For example, let's talk about SSL encryption. You always see whenever you open any site in a browser, the message appears at the bottom. It is checking for SSL encryption. Or whenever you you add a new WhatsApp, you can say the contact, so it is said the end-to-end SSL encryption is there. So that is what globally all or the overall system is being secured using this encryption. So it is relevant to the overall system, while this is relevant to your individual functions present in your system. Now, what are the approaches to security testing, right? So there are two diverse approaches for that. Testing security mechanisms to ensure that their functionality is properly implemented. So what we are supposed to do, the first task of security testing, whether all those functionalities relevant to security is present and it is working properly. That is all the countermeasures we said, and the procedures, they are present and they are working properly. And the second task is performing risk based security testing motivated by understanding and simulating the attacker's approach. So the second approach is performing risk based. What do you mean by risk based? In this case, we are talking about the mindset of an attacker, right? If an attacker is concerned with corrupting the data, right? So our task would be to secure our database, right? If attacker's mindset is something different, he wants something else, right? He's expecting denial of service could be there, masquerading could be there, non-repudiation could be there, right? So we have to check what he is thinking, and accordingly we have to devise a strategy or identify the risk prone area in our project, say database. It is risk associated, we have seen ransomware attack. You have seen today only the ransomware attack happened in Cognizant. So we have to read uh, what attacker is actually looking for, understand what data he's looking for actually, and try to devise your actions based on his mindset, ki how he can use that data in for his own purpose or to damage the, like, Cognizant, right? How they can do this. So this is what is being said, risk based approach. So once you identify the attacker's mindset, that is the area where he is focusing, that is known as risk prone area. Identify all those risks, then go for assessment. What will be their impact and probability? How much, it will definitely going to affect the system. Checks its probability and severity. And once you identify the risk, that impact is more and probability is also high, then go for likely, you can say, the abatement procedures to deal with those kind of risks. That is risk-based approach. If you remember, what is risk management? Simply identifying the risk, then going for assessment, that is assigning the priority based on severity and probability, and then go for abatement procedures, that is either avoid it, transfer it, or go for reduction, that is mitigation process. This is what is actually being discussed here, but you have to check for the attacker's mindset. That is very important. Now if you're going to identify the risk, but there is a least possibility that attacker is going to use that particular thing, so why to waste your time in that, right? So look for the psychological impact, right? Now what is important in security testing? The elements. What do you mean by the elements? Confidentiality, that is important. Your data must be confidential, right? Integrity of the system, authentication, authorization, availability, and non-repudiation. What does these mean? So what is confidentiality? A security measure which protects against the disclosure of information to parties other than the intended recipient. Say I want to transfer a data to Y, right? So the system must ensure that it is being delivered to Y only, not any other person other than Y. This is confidentiality. So end to end, like you can say in WhatsApp, you can see confidentiality is maintained when you are going to transfer the data between any two users. Integrity, a measure intended to allow the receiver to determine that the information which it receives has not been altered in transit or by anyone other than the originator of the information. So integrity is, if you have sent a particular information, it must be delivered intact. There must be no change in the information that is getting transmitted through the transmission medium. Alteration, the maximum possibility of alteration or the corruption of data is through the communication channel. So this is what is being integrity. There must be no alteration in the data other than the person who is supposed to do it, that is the sender, right? So it must be delivered intact. Whatever is sent by the sender, it must be received by the receiver. It must not be changed during the transmit. That is integrity. Authentication is simple, a measure designed to establish the validity of a transmission message of the originator. So the user must be authentic. He must have the login credentials. It allows the receiver to have confidence that the information it receives originates from a specific known source. He is not receiving the data from any intruder or any other source, right? So that is authentication, having the login credentials, authentic user. Then what is authorization? Authorization is actually the access rights given to a particular user. Say for student management system, or you can say library management system, there are several users possible. You could have an admin, you can have an employee, you can have students, you can have staff. So the access right given to different set of users are different. For example, the access right given to an admin will be for creating, modifying and deleting the data in the software, while the access right given to a student will be just to view the information. He cannot modify that information, right? So that is authorization. For what purpose he is authorized, right? That is what he can use, how he can access the system, what controls are being given to him, right? That is authorization. Then availability. Availability is simple. It assures that the information and the communication services will be ready for use when expected. Whenever you require a particular feature or the functionality, it is available, right? That is availability. Information must be kept available for authorized persons when they need it. Okay? So that is also a part of or element of security testing. Lastly, non-repudiation, a measure intended to prevent the later denial that an action happened or a communication took place, right? Say a person has mistakenly did an event which is not authorized or which is not, maybe it leads to security breaches. So he cannot deny that he didn't did that, right? Non-repudiation, he can never deny the action is not taken by him. If he has did or carried out a particular action, he is responsible for that, right? He cannot deny. This is what is meant by non-repudiation. So this is what we have done today. Later we have several other parameters also. We'll be discussing it in the next lecture. Thank you for today.